Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Financial Survival Network is presented to you by Regal Assets. Buy and sell physical gold and silver through your existing retirement plan, 100% tax-free with Regal Assets. If you want to include physical gold or silver in your existing IRA or old 401k, request your free investment kit, which was recently featured in the Forbes and Smart Money Wall Street Journal magazines. Call toll-free 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620, or visit regalassets.com.
It's time to catch up with Diana Zoppa. Diana, how you doing?
Good, Kerry. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I mean, there's so many crazy things going on, and the top of the list has to be this guy, Ventura. He was the governor of Minnesota. He got in there on a fluke. You know, he says a lot of stuff. I don't know whether to believe half of it or not. He said he was a Navy SEAL. There's a dispute about that. He was a wrestler. There's no dispute about that for WWF or E or whatever they are. And, you know, now he's a conspiracy nut wacko, although a lot of these conspiracies, I'm sure, took place, but very difficult to prove. What's your thoughts on this character?
Well, I, again, think Jesse has, he's been around. He's certainly been through a number of careers. Politician, he's an actor, he's an author, he's a veteran. So and you're disputing that at this point, even though it's recorded. But, he's the 38th governor of Minnesota, which is, as you said, he got in on a whim. But at the same time, that's because, he's part of the 2 to 4% crowd out there.
The 2 to 4% crowd as opposed to the 96 to 98%?
Exactly. So, saying he got in on a whim, I mean, there's only a, specific small number, but in Minnesota, I know they're pretty libertarian up there. They have their own banks. They have a state monetary system there.
Well, yeah, they do have state chartered banks and stuff, but, Minnesota's like not really the hotbed of libertarian thought. They're mostly a bunch of liberals who think that the lib in libertarian means liberal.
It means liberal?
Yeah, well, that's what they think up there in Minnesota.
Uh-huh. Well, I was actually just reading this little article that Sean passed over to me here, and it's quite cute. It says, "Brilliancy in its simplicity. A, back off and let those men who want to marry men marry men. B, allow those women who want to marry women marry women. C, allow those folks who want to abort their babies abort their babies. D, in 3 generations there will be no Democrats." I love it when a good plan comes together.
Yeah, but, then there's this movie. I don't know if you ever saw it. I think Owen, whatever his name, Wilson was in it, called Idiocracy.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, what happens is that the intelligent people are too busy working, and they don't breed, but the dumb people are drinking beer, breeding like rabbits, so that soon what happens is that the recessive genes take over, and a couple of people in an army experiment get frozen, and they're totally of average intellect, and then they wake up like 500 years later because they've been forgotten about, but somehow their freezer gets overrun, and they wake up to this world that all people do is drink beer and party, and they're geniuses because they're of average intellect, and the intellect of the human race has deteriorated so much that, they're like looked up to. They're like, people can't believe that they could be so wise, and, they're like totally average. And I think that's where we're heading now, is this idiocracy that, that it seems like the system is aimed at, reverse Darwinism.
Right. Well, I think that could be part of the problem, that's for sure. But, we're getting off on sort of a crazy conversation here. Why don't we bring it in a little bit? Let's go back to Jesse Ventura a little bit. And I think that he has some interesting points, though. I mean, he does bring one of the things that I'd like to see with people like Jesse is their presentation and their appearance and how they decide that they're going to, produce different, trains of thoughts and such, right? Mm-hmm. I have a few other friends, of course, out there in sort of different, I won't say radical, but in areas that are looked upon as not mainstream. Mm-hmm. And, they always come across as being so different because, first of all, they look different. And then when they're speaking, they're not honing their skills in as, well as possibly could be. So I think there's some presentation features with him that I'd like to see, first of all, change, right?
Right.
And when you look serious, people take you more serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he was dealing with the FEMA camps, and they actually visited a couple of them. FEMA camps, supposedly where they're going to, when the world order breaks down, they're just going to lock people up there, and they're supposedly ready to go. They just need to go ahead, and then they start locking people up. Whether this is true or not, I think there are these detention camps, and I've heard it on pretty good authority that they do exist. But the purpose of them is somewhat cloudy, shall we say. But mm-hmm. They definitely exist. There's no question. And they've been used before to house illegal immigrants coming into the U.S. In Florida, there's a couple that are used, and he stopped off at one, and it had a big playground there. And he said, "What's this for? Who are you people?" And they totally stonewalled him. He couldn't get an answer. So he does attempt to illuminate issues that the rest of the media refuses to acknowledge even exist. But sometimes he's so coming out of left field, he's so off the wall that it's really difficult to comprehend what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's an extremist in a lot of ways, right? And so, but these are this is what it's going to take for people to look at, different ideas. When people, I always think back about the conversation when you were talking when you were doing things in your own town hall, saying things people didn't like, and they were coming out to see you, and it creates a stir and it creates a buzz, right? And it gets people thinking, okay, what is this guy saying? Like, why is he so radical? Why is he, making these points? And I think that this is where it stems from people like him who get out mm-hmm. there and say things that is completely non-mainstream.
Oh yeah. Well, there's something to be said for upsetting the apple cart, for stirring the pot, and really just trying to get people to wake up. I'm all in favor of it, God knows. And irreverence, for the sake of irreverence, there's something to be said for that. But he's gone so far over the edge a number of times that I think he's lost credibility, rightfully or not. And you have to kind of try to stay in the, I don't want to say mainstream because that's not it, but try to remain relevant and credible. And when he was governor, he was just so off the wall on so many things that I think he lost a lot of credibility. Mm-hmm. But, whether he's presidential material, well, compared to what we have running this time, maybe he'd be an improvement. Yeah.
Well, again, I think that because he's taking that independent stance, and that's where he is coming from, and that's what he wants to run on, the independent platform. So having said that, I mean, most independents, and he actually was in this interview that I saw him on just recently. He was on Piers Morgan the other day, but I saw another interview. He was discussing, there hasn't been an independent since Ross Perot, and he he basically is just making points that I think he just wants to get out there and stir things up and start to awaken different people for different reasons. And I think that there's merit in that. And you know what? That's the basis of liberty. Go out there, do whatever you want, and say what you want, and why not?
Hey, more power to them. And speaking of liberty, we have a mutual acquaintance, this group of young people known as the Students for Liberty. It's kind of a libertarian-based student group, and they're pretty interesting, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. And just further to our point, I mean, you and I want to talk about issues that, wouldn't normally be talked about, right? And I think that, he is that person as well. And people like Ross Perot, look at Ron Paul. I mean, all the people that are out there being of the free market mind. So yes, the Students of Liberty, I think that, now here's a group that just came out of, they've been around since 2007. Right. And they started in Georgetown with 5 or 6 students, and apparently it has expanded right now. They have something in the number of almost close to 800 chapters around the U.S., and actually it's around the globe. And they are located in universities.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that amazing?
Hey, let me just tell you, I interviewed them last year when I was at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, interviewed somebody from there this year, 1 or 2 of them, and talked about student debt, which is something that Students for Liberty, if you want to be free, you don't want to have $250,000 of debt that you owe to your government, that your government is never going to forget, that you can't get rid of in bankruptcy. You are stuck. You are a debt slave for life. So, the interesting thing is I've thrown a number of different categories, different subjects at them, dealing with what's wrong with America. And to a man and woman, they were all conversant and able to intelligently discuss issues ranging from the deficit to out-of-control military spending to student debt to credit card debt to the collapse on Wall Street. These kids, and I guess I get to that point where a 21-year-old is a kid to me. These kids are really wired on what's going on in the world, more so than their Occupy counterparts, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I see that, and they're all about taking your own life back, right, and getting away from government intervention, telling you what to do, how to live your life financially. Their whole mission, which I think is basically just saying, we want to be able to live the way that we want and have our own discussions and leave us alone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Actually, I'm just pulling up their mission. It says they're providing a unified, student-driven forum of support for students and organizations dedicated to liberty. So,
what's their site, Diana?
It's studentsforliberty.org.
Right, and highly recommend it there.
Yeah, no, it looks really, really promising. And when we're at Freedom Fest, which we and I go to annually, they've had a booth there, and I haven't had a chance to really get to talk to them, but I mean they're obviously getting some real traction out there, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, and they're into honest money. Another conversation that I had with them, that they're amazingly knowledgeable, because honestly my kids have opinions, but they aren't really that well versed in the facts. In fact, I'm about to tell my younger daughter to not discuss anything with politics or economics until she actually studies it, because I'm really not interested in how she feels, because that's what happens with people, especially of the progressive bent. They think with their feelings, and that's okay, because you need to be, when you're engaged in relationships, it's all about feelings. But there is a thing called objective fact. There is something called the economic theory and economic law, and you can't violate those laws like we've done for the better part of the century and expect to have a happy outcome.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, well, the point being, of course, what does liberty mean, right? So, I mean, economic freedom and how to choose, social freedom and how to live, and intellectual and academic freedom. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, I'm just sort of reading a little more here about what they've got going on. But anyway, I think it's fantastic. It's really great.
Yeah, and it's something really cool. On the campus that's totally lacking in so many places is intellectual freedom and freedom of speech. If you don't toe the liberal line at most schools, forget about it. You are verboten, you're an outcast, and you are effectively a really disadvantaged minority if you believe in economic freedom and the ability to pursue your own happiness without the nanny state here telling you what to do. By the way, Diane, I don't know if you followed it or not, but in the People's Republic of New York City, they banned the big gulp soda. Any soda above 16 ounces, sugary soft drink, I think it's above 25 calories. You can't serve it in bigger than a 16-ounce cup in movies, restaurants, and street stands. So much for freedom to become obese.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had talked about that a few weeks back, right? Remember we had the conversation about cane sugar and your body not recognizing fructose. But I know it's just the number of laws that get implemented. I mean, I was reading, I think it's every year there's something like 4,400 laws that are implemented into the Canadian or the American way of life. And it could even be more than that, but it was some crazy number. And, I think it's actually 44,000 now that I think about it. And I think it's absurd. And, when you think about who the heck is writing all this, I mean, and look at that alone. You could just take that department out. Do you think we have enough laws as it is? Let's just take that whole department out. I wonder how many jobs would be taken down from
laws.
That.
It used to be they were gobbling up forests. Now they're just gobbling up disk space. So while they're less harmful to the environment, they're much more harmful to the economy than they've ever been. And we should just have a law that gets rid of every law and starts over again, because nobody knows what the hell is going on here, and that's taking it from a lawyer who used to actually have to read these things. Not that I wanted to.
No, I know, it's true. But I mean, let's just be honest here. It says, I think it was Ron Paul who actually identified some of this. But I mean, 40,000 new laws were put on the books for the first day in 2012.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
40,000. And so every year, if you can expect that, the soda pop law is just going to be one. I mean, what will be next? I mean, you're going to be told how to tie your shoes pretty soon.
Yeah, well, if you don't cross that lace properly, forget it. You're in big trouble.
You're in the Army now. Yeah. And actually, that's the point. You're in the Army.
Yeah, well, it's totalitarianism, and it's they know better than you. So at least there's some kids out there who are trying to do something about it, roll back the clock, and you should need to justify laws. That whole healthcare law, I want to get into the merits of it, but just the fact that it was 2,000 pages long, and it's not like it's readable, because every clause in it, every paragraph refers to another law that isn't part of that law, and you have to try to figure out what it's talking about. Nobody knows, and then if you break these laws, you could go to jail. Not necessarily the healthcare law, but so many others that you really can't figure out your conduct, how you're expected to act. And that's also what's extremely demoralizing about these laws, is that people are going to jail for violating them, and they're not even aware that they're violating a law.
Right. Well, exactly. And that's actually, I think for next week, I'm going to print out a document that shows a bunch of these new laws. We can have a discussion about some of the laws that maybe people are not aware of out there.
That would be great. Well,
yes, okay, we'll do that.
As you know, I'm off to Chicago for Hard Assets Chicago. So we've got to cut it a little bit short this week,
okay,
Diana. But, hey, I highly recommend people go stock up on food. Go to preparewise.com, put in the discount code Lutz. You get a good offer from them. And go to my site, order Regal Gold. Start ordering it because right now it's hit kind of a intermediate high of around 1770, but I really don't think that's going to last for much longer. Do you?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's going to continue to go up, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, it was down today. They had knocked it down $10-12. Now gold's down $1.30. Silver is up. And, oh, by the way, I guess we should give the date so people know it's September 20th around noontime. Silver's up 6 cents the ounce. Gold's down $1.30. A total reversal, and it just shows that the algorithm boys can't keep a good metal down.
Can't keep a good metal down, exactly. So
anyway, Diana, we will talk to you next week. You be well.
Okay, you too, Kerry. Have fun at the conference.
Thanks. And one other thing, most of the way through Whatever Happened to Penny Candy.
Yes.
I'm totally enjoying it. I want to get the other books, the Uncle Eric books.
Oh, yeah. Did you order the series or just the
Not yet.
Just the one book? Yeah.
Not yet, but I'm going to. So
yeah.
It's great for people who don't understand anything about economics.
I totally agree.
A godsend. All right. You be well.
Okay. You too. Bye, Kerry.
Bye.